So far on our patient Z-Test Ladybug, we figured out that we have a negative anti-D, which means we're gonna have to do a weak D. So to do that, all we need is our patient D reaction right here, our patient red cells, and our anti-D. So we'll keep that. I'm gonna get rid of the rest of these tubes so we can see those. All right, so you wanna run a control with this. So for you all on your rack, you're gonna have a monoclonal control. In our lab here, we have an albumin control, 6 to 8%. So I'm gonna get a tube. I'm gonna put patient initials, so Z, L, and then we are gonna put D, C, O, N, T for control, D control, okay? So to that, we're gonna add 2 drops of whatever control you have. In your case, it'll be a monoclonal. See, just 2 drops of control. And then you're gonna add 1 drop of your patient cells. Okay? You're gonna spin that for 15 to 20 seconds, whatever your centrifuge is calibrated to. All right, my centrifuge is done. We'll read this against a white background. That is a negative result. So right here on our D control spot, we're gonna write 0. Now our patient D and our D control are both going to go and be incubated for 15 to 30 minutes at 37 degrees. So I'll go put that in the incubator now. Okay, so I have my weak D test here. It's been incubating for 15 minutes at 37. So to follow our procedure, you're gonna wanna wash this 3 times. Now, you can use a cell washer, but you really do need to know how to do it by hand because you never know when your cell washer is not gonna work. So let's go ahead and show you how to do it by hand. So, you're gonna take your tubes, and you're gonna fill them about 2/3 of the way full with saline. Make sure you don't contaminate your saline bottle. Okay, so we have our tubes about 2/3 of the way full. Now we're gonna spin those for 60 seconds. Okay, so we spun for 60 seconds. If you look at your tube, you see there's a cell button and a lot of saline. So this is really important. You don't want to discard any of your cells, or as few as possible. So what you're gonna do, biohazard here, you want to turn it upside down completely. Okay, and then you want to just dab it. See, you're left with most of your cells in the bottom of the tube. Do that again with the other tube. See, again, most of your cells are left. Now, you're going to want to resuspend that cell button. So do a little squirt of saline in there. Shake until your cells are resuspended. See, there's none stuck to the side anymore. And then you're going to fill those up again 2/3 of the way full. And spin them down again for a minute. Then you're going to want to repeat this 3 times. So we'll go ahead and repeat this 3 times. Okay, so we repeated it 3 times. This is our last wash. So what you want to do, you want to decant the saline. Decant that saline, so you have left with your dry cell button. Again on the other tube. Again, dry cell button. Then, instead of adding more saline, since we're done washing, we're gonna go ahead and add our anti-IgG, our AHG reagent, okay? You wanna add 2 drops to each tube. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? And And then you're gonna shake those tubes like this to resuspend those cells in that anti-IgG reagent. Okay, just like that. And then we're gonna spin them for 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, now we've spun our D and our patient D and our D control with that anti-IgG reagent. Let's go ahead and read it. So first we're gonna read our weak D, our patient. So let's pull that tube out. All right, we look at it against the background, a white background. You can definitely use a magnifier and mirror for this. That is a negative result, So we'll go ahead and put a 0 there. Then we're gonna read our control. Okay, that is a negative result. You can see it against the white paper here. So put a 0 there. Now both of these tubes went through a full AHG phase, so we do have to add check cells to any negative reactions. So these are going to be our check cells, our IgG sensitized red blood cells. Just like your A1 and B cells, you're going to shake them up to get all the cells off of the bottom, just like this. All right, and then you're going to add 1 drop to each tube and centrifuge for 15 to 20 seconds. So we added our 1 drop to each tube. Gently shake, and let's centrifuge. All right, let's read our check cells. Our check cells should be between a 1+ and 3+ reaction. So let's first read our patient. I would call that a 2+ reaction. So I'm gonna record on here. You don't have to write the reaction, you can just put a check mark. Okay? That means that you checked the cells and they worked. This is the control. I call that a 2+ reaction as well. So I'm gonna put a check mark there. Now, since we have gone through, we did our complete weak D. Our weak D and control are both negative and they checked, which means it worked. We can interpret our type. So the front type and the back type match. It's a type O. And because the D was negative and the weak D was completely negative, it's gonna be negative. Now you wanna make sure you write negative and don't put a plus or a minus sign. That way it's easy to read and understand. Now, if you were to have an AB pause patient, you would do the same procedure, only your control cell would just have to be read at immediate spin. If that control was negative at immediate spin, then it could prove that your AB positive was a real type and not because of panagglutination.